product engineering and research teams. I worked across various industries, automotive, security, healthcare being the recent. I chose healthcare technology because it's again growing and an expanding industry, and it's a stimulating and fast-paced work environment, and more importantly, it is rewarding and fulfilling work. My interests include passion for emerging technologies, and I do love building strong teams and executing technical strategies. And from a hobbies point of view, I play video games too much for my own good, and I also am very passionate about girl-child empowerment. I do work with NGOs. We go to the tier 1 and tier 2 cities to run awareness campaigns on STEM programs for the government girls' schools. Now I will hand over to Sirisha, my co-presenter. Sirisha, can you please introduce yourself? Sirisha? Okay. Can you guys hear me? One second. Looks like we have some technical difficulties. Sirisha, you're on mute if you're talking. Okay. Okay, I'll start with Sirisha's introduction too. Sirisha is again a seasoned veteran in the healthcare industry, and in the technology. Sirisha has 5 years experience in healthcare IT. She believes, and she chose the healthcare IT because she believes that the healthcare industry brings us closer to the people who look upon us as for their good health. And she believes because of this noble nature, she would like to work in that industry. And of course, her interests include reading books and listening to music, and also she loves listening to Sadhguru's inspirational speeches. Hopefully, by the time we come to Sirisha's presentation, we would solve her technical issue, but we would start with the presentation. We are Health Services Innovation Company, United Health Group. We have a pretty noble vision. Mission is helping people live healthier lives and making healthcare work for everyone. We mean this includes healthcare being available to everyone, the quality of healthcare, and the cost being low and available to everyone. That's what we mean by our vision. We are ranked as Fortune 5, and our revenues are north of 250 billion. Within United Health Group, we have United Healthcare and Optum. United Healthcare works on the primary insurance, health insurance business of it, and Optum holds a diverse portfolio of Optum Insight, where we sell products to other insurance companies, hospitals, clinicians, even the governments. And then we have another division, Optum Health, which takes care of patients' primary care, urgent care, ambulatory services, all kinds of medical care. And of course, we have Optum Rx, as name suggests, it works on the pharmacy side of the business. We have around 30,000 employees in India, and we are looking to grow them, and we are looking for really passionate people who would like to join us in a tech and tech-enabled services to do their life's great work. United Health Group have a high focus on inclusion and diversity. We strongly believe that a diverse workforce is necessary to serve our customers who are themselves are diverse in nature. That's more of a United Health Group. Today's agenda, I know this group, we have folks who are thinking of joining the cloud world, the cloud technologies. We are folks who are already in there trying and working out. We also have folks who are taking their products from the legacy monoliths to the cloud. So our agenda includes cloud in healthcare, which we will talk about in general. How is cloud adoption in healthcare? What is that enabling it, right? What necessitated it in the first place, and how is this morphing the entire healthcare industry? For that matter, if I being an industry agnostic, any industry for that matter. And of course, we'll briefly touch upon the approaches to cloud adoption. And we'll also talk about building a career in cloud. And of course, we'll do a deep dive into a case study with Sirisha. And then we'll also end with learning from our cloud journey. This doesn't just mean our learnings doesn't just include architecture or a cost. It also we will talk about the team culture and the change management, the operational changes that we have observed. All right, without much ado, I'll just start the agenda. If you think about, I know we're all living in this challenging times. These challenging times also gives us these opportunities. If you look at from a healthcare point of view, the telehealth adoption was accelerated by 2 years, right? And the virtual visits, it's being a conservative industry. We usually have a tough time bringing the latest technologies, but with this COVID, we have that the the virtual visits went up 200%, right? And another 200% in 2020 and another 200% in 2021. You need to understand, right? Once we have uh, all the all the computing power of the cloud available to us and all the digitization happening right now, there is a huge opportunity in terms of medical research, and also opportunity in terms of other emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities. We are now looking into creating the clinical decision systems which actually support the physicians and help with a faster time to treatment. And of course, the analytics and the predictive analytics play a huge role now, because we are not only looking into uh, you know cures, we're also looking into prevention, predicting it ahead, which in general plays a huge role in improving the health outcomes. um, if I just take you briefly, if you look into the level one on the top side of it, we just talked about telehealth, virtual care, remote monitoring. That's what we're seeing right now. And the latest technologies, what we're thinking, again, powered by cloud, would be advanced UI models, query languages, etc. From an art, once you have the data available and the computing power available, then your artificial and intelligence and machine learning algorithms talk about virtual personal assistants, predictive analytics. We already have it right now. And if you look into the big data side of it, analytics side of it, there's an integrated wellness solutions. You have alerts happening, schedulers happening, so that you wouldn't miss any of your appointments or your medications, right? Again, this happens in a healthcare technology. I'm sure there's being the cloud being the backbone of change, you would see many such changes in the banking, financial services industry, in any industry you could think about. And what we could see, the next stage, what we would see is, if I put a healthcare lens again, we see a digital triaging, risk stratification, population health, not just an individual health, from a longitudinal health of a patient, and again the population health we talked about, right? Not just cure, most from a wellness and prevention perspective. Of course, from a technology point of view, you would have more microservices, interactive front end systems. You would have blockchain, where the data, where we can trust the data that is flowing to us. The gamification side of it is also coming into picture. And of course, if you're thinking about it, predictive models will become a norm. Diagnostic and risk scoring will come into picture. If you're thinking about any other industry, and I mentioned banking, you have a credit risk scoring can also we can think about. And of course, once you have all the data you have, and you have the huge cloud storage and cloud enabled storage data, you could think about healthcare information assimilation across. If this would be, I would see in an immediate future. And if you think about more futuristic, we're talking about robotic medical procedures and pharmacogenetics. Again, the technologies there we're thinking about is nanotechnologies, 3D printing, virtual reality, augmented reality. Those are the technologies we're thinking about. And from an artificial intelligence, of course, you would have not only a predictive analytics, now you would have a predictive patient behavior, the modeling of a patient, right, that you can have in picture. And of course, ever it's not just the healthcare information. Now the entire personal healthcare comes in, the customer information and assimilation and assessment can happen. So this is where we see where the technology is advancing, and again, it happens on the backbone of adoption to cloud and digitization of the information. Okay. So again, these are all what we talked so far about on the long-term aspects of it. Even if you're thinking about the current in today's world, just shifting to the cloud, it can help business to scale the products as required. Before, even the startups right now can afford to build in once they move to cloud, because it's scale as demand. They don't have to prior invest so much of an infrastructure ahead. And cloud can make it easy access to digital tools, insights, and it in a cost effective manner, because you do have the economies of scale working in your favor. And it can also act as a strategic lever, allowing the business to rethink priorities, right? You can pivot as whenever the business needs are there. You can resource allocation, you can take it off and you can add back in. You have that flexibility so that you can work on your priorities. And of course, with all it has the cloud is actually have the transformation power in empowering the companies to recover from this crisis. And if I think from the healthcare perspective, it's providing a connected platform for collaboration, which means collaboration. When I say it's across the healthcare entity, that means between the hospitals, insurance agents, the pharmacies. There is a constant collaboration, which can only means the increase in quality of care. And of course, reduce total cost of ownership. We talked about that economies of scale, right? So that would reduce the cost to the patient at the end. Enable business scalability and flexibility. We talked about working on the priorities, and enhance healthcare interoperability. The data can be exchanged pretty seamlessly across. And of course, it's not remote patient monitoring and telemedicine. Now it is easier to access the patient. You would get patient's information because you're using the remote monitoring, no longer that they need to travel to a particular physician's office to get tested. You have Internet of Things that making it enabled. And of course, we do have the high powered analytics that we can run on top of the data that we have, so that we can work more on the prevention and the cure. In general, once we have all the information, the patient right now becomes a part of the healthcare decision making. He or she is in can make a decision based on all the information they have handy. So the global market for healthcare technologies in the cloud technologies in the healthcare industry, it's expected to grow in next couple of years to the 25 billion alone. So that's a huge jump. And if you, it reminds me of a quote, right? There are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen. And this is what suddenly there is an impetus in a traditionally a lagging industry on a picking up new technologies like healthcare, conservative industries. So the cloud and digitization is hugely changing the paradigm on how we do business going forward. Now let's come back to our approaches to cloud. Uh, I mean, the immediate, quick, if you want to move your legacy or a monolith to cloud, the first thing you could do is a lift and shift. It is an easy solution. You would be thinking about solution if you're trying to get the infrastructure interdependence. If you're thinking about high availability, this is the system. This approach is what you could pick. Again, there are so many tools. I would the success of the cloud adoption vested on the strategy. You need to understand what your needs are, your business needs are, your product needs are, right? And then you adopt strategy accordingly. That's what rehosting means. If you're looking for a infrastructure interdependence on the reliability side of it, you can just do a lift and shift, and it's an easy quick migration to cloud. And of course, you won't be able to take full advantage of what cloud has to offer. Then that's where we're going for next to the one, refactoring. This is, well, known, can also called as lift, shake, and shift. So what we do is you optimize for a tangible benefit, right? You want to save a certain, you want to take a scalability advantage of it, or you're looking for a, maybe working on certain latency factor and want to change few things, or you want to change services to save certain money. So that's where the refactoring come into picture. And of course, the third approach, which while is time consuming, but would have all advantages of cloud when you re-architect it and rewrite it, redesigning the entire application to have keep in mind the robustness and performance, right? And you include all the cloud native principles in there. That means it includes the reliability of it, the flexibility that it offers, the elasticity it offers, the scalability, everything that the cloud has to offer. So these are the three approaches. Again, you can rehost it and slowly work your way towards the refactoring and finally, redesigning your entire application. So again, it depends upon the strategy that you picked up for your own product. Now, again, there are three types of clouds. You have a private cloud, which is mostly on the privacy side of it. It's accessible to your employees and staff. And then you have a public cloud, which is more accessible, right? And this is something called a hybrid cloud that you have, especially in the industries where there is a huge regulatory requirements or compliances that from a data perspective. If I pick up a healthcare, usually you have a lot of PHI data that you want to protect it, and you have a lot of regulatory guidelines, HIPAA, and I'm sure financial services or the energy industries have similar requirements. That's where maybe you might want to look into your hybrid side of the cloud. You might want to see that perhaps the data side of it, you can keep it in your private cloud while taking the advantage of a public cloud in terms of accessible to your customers. Again, that's a strategy that matters. It's not the type that define your success, but actually the well thought strategy that you put behind it. Um, Coming back to how do we start, right? How do we go about adopting to cloud? I mean, if I take five-step approach, I would first look into the containerization. First, containerize your product in a way that package your application in a portable software-defined environment. And I mean, again, these are the examples we're just listing out, right? You could use Docker or the Kubernetes. You first containerize your application. You work on your CI/CD, right? How to deploy that application. You want to put an infrastructure as a code, and how to run it, right? And afterwards, you would like to, once it is deployed, you would like to understand and see the analysis behind it, try to see the observability side of it, the monitoring of an application, the observability, the telemetry. Keep an eye on what's working well from a performance point of view, or any KPIs that you define. You might want to have a look at it if it is done, or you might want to restart it again, right? And of course, you cannot underestimate the what I would say is you cannot underestimate the complexity and the importance of the data migration. How the distributed database you have that can easily impact your performance. It even impacts your application availability. You need to keep in mind what is that you want to do there, and you have to keep in mind on how your data migration strategies are happening, how your disaster recovery that you're planning here before you have it on cloud. And of course, the streaming and messaging, finally, that backbone, right? That it should your streaming and messaging services should have the ability to buffer and scale to a massive loads of data that you need to ingest for your needs. Of course, with a low latency and high throughput. That's what you want to keep in mind. And of course, there are again, we just listed some examples. Doesn't mean there's so many players in the market. You can look into it and pick up as your cloud adoption strategy. And of course, now let's talk about building your career in cloud technologies. I know many of engineers here, and if you're not in there first, I would let's start from the bottom up, right? I would start with that strong, um, you have that strong knowledge in your core language, whether it could be a .NET, Java. Then you can work on your development frameworks like .NET Core. Just understand that from a database side of it. Once you, anyway, that most of as an engineers you would have it. On top of it, if you want to move to cloud, understand the I would say understand the fundamentals of cloud computing, the cloud design patterns, the service models of cloud, whether it's an infrastructure as a service, as a platform as a service. How do you want to do it? And again, there's a lot of cloud services you can pick up. They are listed on the side here. It could be any cloud vendor. I mean, we have just listed the three major cloud vendors here, but there are so many in the market that you can pick up. Again, you want to see what is that you want to use. There are certain services a certain cloud vendors are pretty good at. So depending upon the need you have, you might want to pick that particular service, right? And the few services I would like to list out is understanding the scaling part of it, thinking about the serverless architecture side of it, and how you manage your microservices. And of course, the Docker container registry, that is the important. We talked about it before too. We need to think about it. The containers, how do you create that, build that portable software, right? Define the application portable, define entity that you want to run it. And of course, the virtual private servers, the platform as a service you need to keep mind in. So these are all the services that you can think. And of course, depending upon a cloud vendor, it doesn't matter. And every vendor have their own certifications in place, which kind of helps you once you do a certification to get in a foot in a door in any job which working on a cloud computing. So, and of course, from a computational perspective, that you also need to look, similar for the storage, networking, the content delivery, the database management, and monitoring and security being those important things. And finally, you would want to learn on the cloud security and the cloud ops. And I think this is the roadmap that you can take and building your career in cloud. Now, now that we talked about what is that cloud can achieve, and how it can be an impotence into moving into a newer emerging technologies. We talked about what are the adoption strategies we can do, and various clouds that we have, private, public, and hybrid, and when you need to pick what. Um, Various steps of adoptions of cloud that we want to go by, and we're also thinking about if anyone looking from moving from a legacy or a development to a more of a cloud technologies, what are the steps that we need to take go forward. Now my colleague Sirisha will walk us through a case study where we can pick a particular product that we have and the steps we have taken in moving to cloud, and what are the lessons we learn doing forward. Okay, Sirisha, on to you.
Hey, thanks so much, Madhuri, and thanks so much for the introduction of mine as well. Got
Sure.
got some glitches. All of us are working from home. So, good evening, team. This is Sirisha, and I'm primarily working in the digital space of RX and live example of using the cloud first strategy. We have moved to cloud from a legacy, and it has been a roller coaster ride. But yeah, I would like to take this platform as an opportunity to talk about the case study that me and my team has gone through. It's an amazing journey, and I really wanted to share my experiences with all of you. So, the very first thing that all of us has to think about is how clear are we with the problem statement? What are we trying to solve? And as part of a solution for that problem, is cloud the right solution? Right? I think that's very important. Cloud is fancy. Cloud is amazing. It's really hot in the market, but cloud is not a solution because of these factors, right? You should have a really pressing need to go for a cloud, and why should one go for it, right? So, if you look at the case for a change, and if you look at the current challenges, and what is the fractured experiences it leads to, is where one of our application had been. So, we in RX or in UHG as a whole, our topmost priority is the members to whom we serve. right? Because per our motto as well, we make members or our member community live a healthier life. And to do so, what do? We give them the perfect solution which helps them, be it with respect to their drugs, their medication, all services that we as an organization offer. Now, when we look at an organization as a whole, it's big organizations or it is small, it doesn't matter. Sometimes our organizations have already over a period of time would have built some applications over years ago, which means you have inherited legacy technology, right? Or if you're starting something from scratch, yes, you're smart enough to pick something which is more open source and more flexible, and you start using that technology. But that's not always the case, right? We inherit a lot of legacy tech stack in the organization via various reasons. But when that is the case, is where one of my case study had been with a legacy technology, probably as old as probably where we were using the soap services or a JDK 1.4, if you remember, right? That's where we were at some point in time, and that code was had come to us via, it's ancestral, right? It had come to us via a legacy system. And so when we have such kind of systems where things are very tightly coupled, any kind of enhancement you're required to do, you want to scale that application, right? And why would you want to do it? Because year on year, we add members, we add consumers, we add APIs. Today, we are talking about more than 300 APIs on production. I'm just talking about my portfolio, right? Not from the organization standpoint. So just imagine such portfolios, there are innumerable in the organization. If that is the vast spectrum we are looking at, and if we would want to scale, we would want to add consumers, what is it that I need? And that's the bottom focus areas for us, right? What do you want? Your application has to be always available. What does it mean? Is it 99.9, 99.99? You add the number of nines after a decimal, right? That's the availability if somebody is looking at. It's purely consumer driven, right? And if that's the availability that you're looking at, what is your current state of your application? Are you good? If you're good, you're good. If you're not, what it takes to go to that stage. This is one focus area that we had. Second, how reliable I am. I'm having incoming volume. I'm going to have a lot of consumers coming in, a lot of clients coming in. My data intake is going to be huge. The throughput I'm going to run with, the volume that I'm going to incur, it's tremendous, it's exponential. Can my system, my application, which is currently on whatever limited infrastructure it is it reliable enough? Will it not go down? Will it sustain? Will it give the right performance? These are all the questions which comes up in mind. And believe me, performance is very important in today's world, because even if we open a website and if it goes rolling on and down, our frustration level increases. And just imagine if you have a client to whom for whom, especially on the healthcare, I'm just taking example because our organization is on healthcare, but it could be any application. It could be any application. It leads to first is the frustration, right? So performance has been a key, and the consumers that we have worked with, people would want it in less than 100 milliseconds, less than 50 milliseconds, less than 200 milliseconds. If this is the ask, what am I supposed to do? Can I rewrite my entire application? Forget it. I'm serving these consumers for ages now. Believe me, no consumer would want to change, but their expectations continue to raise year on year, right? And when that's the case, what should I do? I cannot give a fractured experience to consumers. Losing business is one aspect of, but then hurting a member who's there waiting for them to receive a drug as an order, they are on a medication, we are impacting somebody's lives, right? So everything that we offer to members is critical, and that's the reason why our focus areas became very critical for us. As year on year we add a lot of members, and hence our thought was, okay, what next do we do? And when we look into each of these focus areas, if you look at the last one, data federation, right? This is one key factor. What does it mean? The applications that currently most of the organizations have or would have moved now is where applications are very tightly coupled to your backend systems. Could be Oracle, could be MySQL, could be AS400. You name it and you have the backend system. Sometimes the applications are so tightly plugged in. You want to move from one database to another database just for a differentiation of a data or for any reason, it's a humongous task, and you're not able to because your application has been so tightly built. It should have ideally been so configurable that, hey, it's just a configuration change. I just plug in one data source and I just plug in another one, and with little more configuration and little few enhancements I should be up and running. No, if that's not the case, it's a big time to think that you will not be in a position to scale. And any small error, any small failure, you're bringing the entire system down. So that is the thought process that runs in. And hence, if these are the focus areas and if these are critical to you, then is cloud a solution? Right. So if you look at this ecosystem that we had been working on, or it is my personal experience where we have tried to do the cloud first strategy, if you look at it from a channels could be anything. Anybody can use websites, mobile. I've just listed two, but there can be innumerable channels via which consumers access applications. And if your current state of your application is so tightly coupled with multiple layers and tightly coupled components, and your tight coupling with the backend systems, it becomes very difficult to really expand, to give a very good experience as consumers add in, as volume adds in, right? As requests goes exponential. Today I get a hits of 50 transaction per second. Tomorrow I have to support 100 transactions per second. It's very difficult, right? That's how the systems were built, or we have been building to support the business. But I think there is a need for a change. Is cloud a solution? If I go back to my focus areas, if I want to achieve those, cloud could be one of the option. Who makes this decision? I think we heavily rely on our architects, who tries to work with us very closely, and who are the experts who give us a right decision, right? Should is cloud the right approach? And if yes, okay, how are we sitting on how are we going to sit on the future? They try to put something on the diagram. It's easy to put something on a diagram, but can we really make it happen? Just think through this, right? We have our data on the data centers, we have data on clouds everywhere. But let us assume, taking a typical case, we have data on the data centers which is on premise, for example, right? And your applications are also sitting on premise. Does it make sense for us to take our applications and just, it could be anything, it could be lift and shift, you refactor or you completely rewrite the various approaches that Madhuri talked about? If you just do that, right? And if your data still sits on premise, come on, your application is going to talk all the way, request data to the on prem, and then you send the response all the way from back from on prem to cloud. You're going to kill your response time, right? It's not going to help. So it's not just the application being built, there are a lot of aspects to be looked into. Is there a need for me to take the data to cloud from on premise? Now that's a very critical question to answer, because your data could be time sensitive, your data could be confidential from a user standpoint. You could be working on a banking data, you could be working on a healthcare data, you could be working on a data that has probably the critical information like the credit cards for a member, or a member's date of birth, or their pans, any kind of critical information for a member that's residing on the data. The very first question the organization asks, or a business asks, how can you put your data on cloud? Cloud is so vulnerable. How about the security aspects of it? What would you do? How would you ensure my data is secure? And the first thing that becomes jittery from a consumer standpoint is, am I secure? Right? So I think this is something which is valid, which is the right questions to ask, and something which we should definitely work towards. So, and then you try to see, okay, how are you going to stream your data to cloud, and how are you going to package it in such a way that you're not leaking data, you are encrypting the data, and you're moving this data at runtime from on-prem to cloud. If that is the need, that might not be the need for all the organizations, but I'm just running through the case study where we have run through, right? Near real-time data. Anything, any updates happening on on-prem, I'm going to take the data on cloud very securely, right? following all the security protocols that are set up in place for this data to reside on cloud. And once I put it on cloud, how best can I tune my application? Come on, I have my data on cloud. My application cannot be a legacy application. It's not that cloud doesn't support. Cloud is technology agnostic. It can support anything. It offers a lot of things. So the applications cannot be as is, right? It needs to be fine tuned. It needs to be optimized. You have to, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you really have to see what is the best things that I can offer in my application. Can I move to some faster ones? Can I upgrade the versions of the applications that I'm using? So all those aspects, and how can I make it decoupled, more importantly, and host it as components, right? It's easy for me to act in cloud. So I think that's one aspect that we had done, and hence the future that you see on the right hand side is what we have built. Right. So I'll come to the subsequent steps on the challenges that we have faced and how we have done it. But yes, it's a very conscious decision to come on cloud. Cloud it fancy, but you should have the right reason to go on cloud because it comes with a definite cost. So I'll move on to the next. So the evaluation strategy, I think I did talk about it from a platform. What does it mean? How are you supposed to evolve? What it means from a platform standpoint, from what it means from a data standpoint, and what it means from an integration standpoint. Yes. So there are a lot of nuances when we are there on the on-premise side of it. There are a lot of things that you manage, be it from a VMs to your software upgrades and all. There are a lot of nuances. Probably you have a specific teams who are actively engaged just to handle that, and applying patches, for example, it's a marathon sometimes when you have to run it through your entire infrastructure and then test your application because you changed your infrastructure. You'd have no clue if something is broken. So I think platform plays a very important role, and when you want to serve your consumers at a large scale, and so you want somebody else to take care of that for you, right? Hey, I want to seamlessly go on to a platform which somebody else can manage for me. I would just want to use their services. And I would only want me to concentrate on my application, what I offer. I do not want to really bother about the infrastructure, its upgrades, its patches, and there is somebody else who manage, and that's when cloud comes very handy. Be it Azure, be it AWS, be it GCP, you name it. There is somebody else to do it for you. You just have to spin up the containers, right? And you put your application there, and then there are vendors for you who take care of you. It comes as a package, right? So I think platform independence becomes very important. Next is data. We did talk about it. There are beautiful ways to stream data. I think we have fallen. We have lifted ourselves. We have tried multiple technologies, multiple streaming technologies, multiple POCs to really see the best fitment for our use case. But yes, there are always ways that you can stream your data on cloud and ensure that it is on an encrypted model. And that encryption itself also, we have offered it as a service. We call it as a DPaaS, data protection as a service. I just write one component which can just encrypt and decrypt my data, and I host it as at an enterprise level. Nobody has to reinvent the wheel. I have done it there. I will reuse it. I'll open it for my enterprise, and I host it, and I use it as a service. So this is the beauty, that you host anything as a service and keep your data independent of your application. On-prem, I might be on Oracle, I might be on MySQL, I could be on anything. Nothing stops me to move to Cosmos, to move to Cassandra. So these are all different types of databases that are available on cloud. It should not be a humongous task for me to move from one database to another. Can I do a plug and play? It might be, if you're going first time on cloud, I think it needs a definite strong strategy to do it. But I think it paves a way for the rest of the applications to follow you. Or you've set a pathway. Hey, you want to come on cloud? Probably I can offer you something as a service. Use this, and you can, I'll give you a helping hand, right? And you can come over on cloud. So yes, I think that's very critical. Data is a key factor when you move to cloud. And yes, your integration patterns, loosely coupled integration patterns, always help. Cloud is not static. Today you're on AWS, tomorrow there might be a business need to move on Azure. You should be able to seamlessly move your components from one cloud to another. it, I don't say that it is a zero effort. There would be some level of an effort, but it should not cause an entire re-engineering to happen. Then that's a bad architecture then we would have worked on with, right? So I think the integration patterns becomes a very key when you move across to different platforms, be it cloud or a non-cloud. So we have just tried to lay out some typical tech stack here, but this is not all. It can be any tech stack. As I said, cloud is technology agnostic. It offers huge opportunities. You can be on any technology. Java, Azure, Cosmos, not necessarily. It could be .NET, it could be Pega, it could be mobile. You name the technology in the world and you have it. And there are clouds supporting everything for you. But it's just that when you move on cloud, I think the technology consideration should definitely be considered. And this is something which the architects definitely put up in their thought process for sure. But yeah, what is latest? And why should I do it? Not because it's latest. How is it going to help me or my application, right? How can I become more flexible? How can I move to more open source because it reduces my cost? Right, I think that's the perspectives that are generally taken from a tech stack standpoint. But yeah, this is something which we have put it up here as this is something which we have already used in our platforms. There are a lot more, but the cloud could not offer here the word cloud that we have put. But yes, these are some key tech stacks that we are operating on today in the organization. Transformation journey, it's first time cloud first strategy is a beautiful experience. Why? If you are new to cloud, it's a learning curve to be taken. You cannot jump on cloud like that, right? You have to learn, your team has to learn, and then evaluate technologies, carry out a lot of POCs, rely on SMEs if you have. Else you rely on vendors to support you with that SME knowledge. Else you rely on some external forums, and then Google is there to do. But I think these are some challenges which definitely come when you're trying to transform. You would be lucky if you already have a team members who has some exposure or experience to move to cloud. But I think the journey that we had taken, or what me and my team had taken, we have all done on the fly, learn, develop, fail, and then you fail fast, and then you succeed. That's the cycle that we have run through, and then the kind of journey that we have taken. Every evaluation that you do as part of your transformation journey, it comes with a cost. Believe me, the architect would never be able to tell you that, hey, just just pick this technology and put it and it'll work for you, because it changes daily. Patches come in daily, version upgrades happen. So your architect can give you a visualization that, hey, this technology might work by my experience, but give it a try. You start doing a POC, right? And then sometimes things work, sometimes things don't work, so you move to a next technology. Is it an open source? Great. If not, there's a cost. You do a cost evaluation. So I think this is a cycle that somebody runs into when you try to migrate onto cloud, be it first time or even not first time. I think this evaluation factors are the key things to ensure you any wrong decision would lead a very high rewrites. You cannot rebuild the applications all the time. It takes energy, it takes man effort. It psychologically stresses people, right? So I think a very good strong base on what is the right direction, and then your analysis phase is the key, where you've done all your POCs and you have done some good amount of risk management, right? And you have done the right cost benefit analysis is where you put a stop that, yes, I've done all my ifs and buts, and then I'm good to move on cloud. So spend more time on your analysis phase. That's the key, and that leads to a right transformation journey onto cloud or onto any platform, right? That's what has happened for us. That's our live experiences, and there are a lot of barriers. As I already talked, at least we didn't had anybody. We went to Azure the first time, so I think we had a great collaboration with Microsoft, and yes, and we relied on the external forums. And then now we are there to help the other teams in the organization, to help them move, because we don't want them to reinvent the wheel. There are certain failures that we have seen, but we have succeeded. And there is something called as a reuse that we strongly believe as an organization. And that's how people are reusing. So yes, the barriers are always there for sure, but yeah, it comes with a cost. I think this is the learnings that we had for sure. It needs a little shift of culture. You need a right mindset of your team, that hey, don't bog down. If you are failing, you will fail for sure. You never know what's going to work. It will work on the books, because that's what the theory says. Practically, sometimes it doesn't work, right? Till data flows and your code executes and give you the right output which you are looking for, it is still zero. It's not 100, right? So it's easier to drop the ball and say, hey, I don't believe I am able to continue anything any further. I think I'm done with, I have done enough. No, I think it needs a strong mental strength, that it is okay to fail. And we as leaders give a lot of that support to the team, especially which is trying to go for transformation, right? That hey, it is okay to fail, but don't lose hope, right? It's a beautiful journey. We will get there. It is okay, right? So I think that team and culture, that has to be developed and strengthened very strong when you take up any transformation to cloud or any platform, right? I think that's the learnings that we had. And of course, yes, change management comes as part of this. And as I said, and I continue to stress this point, architecture plays a very key role. It's the base. It's the design on top of it. It's a building block. On top of it, your entire transformation journey and your application stands. It is shaky, your entire application is shaky. You take it to cloud, you take it to cloud 9, you take it to heaven, it will be shaky, right? So it's very important that your architecture is strong. So a right architects, a right design is very important, and that's the key that we have learned. And yes, our our key focus was very much important from an availability standpoint, because the segment which we work on, especially on the healthcare side of it, it's important to reach the members always, and we cannot have a downtime. We have a 99.59s, right? So I think that's where we are. So I think it's critical. So yeah. And then when you go on a cloud, I think the one beautiful aspect is it gives us a geo redundancy, right? My application cannot go down. Even if the application is up, my databases cannot go down. Come on, it is all about data. What good is an application if it cannot put a data on your browser and show the person, right? It's, if data is not there, what am I supposed to do? Your application cannot hang there. So data availability is must, and cloud offers a beautiful zone redundancy, geo redundancies. So these kind of DR options is where we have beautifully laid out by cloud. Any cloud, I'm not specific. It could be my Azure, it could be AWS, it could be GCP, or anything you would want to be. It comes with this beauty. If you are an on-prem, you have to really spin up data centers and much ahead. Your planning has to be much ahead, because it's not easy to spin up data centers the way we spin up containers on cloud, right? So I think that flexibility comes with cloud, and that is where we could give such high availability to our applications moving to cloud. But yes, these are the critical factors, and yes, it comes with a cost. But as you move on cloud, you will know, you get so much of exposure that you know that hey, when should I bring certain components down? Probably during the end of business hours, certain things can run on a batch mode, can run behind the scenes, and I can lower my cost. Certain things should be there running in a very high CPU, in a very high memory, in a very high, to handle a high throughput. And those components should be there the moment my business day starts. So I can make that judgments and accordingly manage the scale up and scale down if I'm on cloud. and I can manage my cost very well. So I think this flexibility, we get it. It comes with the platform, with cloud, right? On prem, it is it is there. We can do, but it's not easy. You have to upfront do it, or you want to do it at that point in time. It'll take some time for you. It'll take few hours for you to really add a memory, add a RAM. Data center, forget it. You cannot spin up like that. It needs months effort to really have another data center ready. So I think these are all the aspects that we have gone through, and it has been a beautiful learning journey that we had. But yes, these are all the key factors which we considered. Yes, you. I think the principles stays as is, be it resiliency, failure, scalability, flexibility, container based. I have covered of all these in my conversation as of now, but container based is very interesting, right? Because of this container based, be it in your private cloud or public cloud, you just take your code and you put it in another container with a very minimal changes, right? That's the beauty of cloud. I'm able to take my application on OpenShift, which is a private cloud, and put it on Azure. I will need some configuration changes, but I don't have to do an entire re-engineering. That's the beauty of containerization. Nothing stops me taking my application from an Azure to an AWS. Could be my business requirement. But that's the beauty of containerization, right, from cloud perspective. And yeah, that is how it's making us future ready. And if you look at it, the year is ending, and we are all looking forward for our new consumers, new members to add in. And our preparedness, I think we just see that, okay, is my scaling level good enough? I am not going to really touch anything, or it is not going to be a roller coaster ride for me. I have my application, it is running good. Is my infra good? Have my set up my right scale up levels? Am I good with my TPS, or the transactions per second that I am likely to get? And I'm onboarding another 10 million client members, right? Am I all set up? A quick review with my vendor that, hey, from an infra standpoint, we are good, right? We can scale. Do you have any patches to apply? Do it much ahead, right? And be ready. So so it becomes easier for me, for my readiness to serve the consumers, to serve the clients. And yeah, otherwise it's spending a lot of energy just to get ready to support more consumers. You keep all your work aside, all your development work aside, and only see, hey, am I good? Should I do some more testing? Should I run some more performance test? I don't have to, because I've seen how things are worked on cloud, and I have the scalability. I can definitely run certain stress test which I would want to. But from an application standpoint, I'm good, right? So yeah, I think that's the preparedness, and that's the benefits that the cloud offers. And as you've seen here, that we have tried to put the benefits, I think we have seen it great. There's another thing on the logging and monitoring side of it, where there are a lot of tools and technologies that are offered. Be it there are certain things which you would be able to take it on cloud, some you will not be able to take it on cloud. But we are not worried about all it. Why? There's a very good logging and monitoring that that cloud as a package offers. For example, if you're in Azure, you have log analytics, you have app insights, beautiful dashboards, and it's very easy to plug and play your code. It could be something else on AWS, but it's not difficult for me to just unplug here, take my code there, and plug it off. And I don't have to really work on a lot of creating dashboards of my own. Take the dashboards that the platform offers, and they give us a handle to customize. So I'm not doing anything from scratch, right? So I think that's another beauty. So I'm not going to invest a lot of time. I just want a good logging and the right dashboards that I want to visualize. I'm okay to do a little bit of customization, and I'm good. And let me concentrate on what I'm offering as an application. So somebody else has taken that job for me, right? The vendor has given me some certain things which I can just take it. So yes, I think it comes with little bit of more convenience. But yeah, I think elasticity and scalability are always there when you move to cloud. So yes, I think this is what I think our journey has been, and it's a live example of me and my team doing this transformation and really experiencing it. It's very good, but needs a lot of thought process. And yes, and big time buy-in from an organization, and we are able to honor our members and help them live healthier lives, and that has been the motto for Optum. But yeah, proud to be in this space, and cloud is beautiful. I think everybody should experience it, but I think with a caution. But thanks so much. I think that is all what I had for today, but probably we can move on to the Q&A.
Hey, Sirisha, that was good. Uh, I love the journey you have. I looked into the few questions while you're presenting, and there are multiple questions in a way that, okay, how the first question I see is how could cloud technology fulfills the requirements of organization in healthcare sectors? You talked about it. What would cloud help? Is the minute you have all the data available in cloud, the minute you have all the computing power, what you do have is then you can run your artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms. You can run analytics, right? In fact, if I think from a domain perspective, you have all the data of your patient that you can give to your doctor, which can improve the quality of healthcare, right? And yeah, there are a lot more. That's why we feel that the cloud would be a backbone of many adoptions to many emerging technologies, and with a lot of benefits to the patients, the hospitals, everyone in the healthcare ecosystem.
Completely echo with you, Madhuri. Yes, just not healthcare sector. I think there are many sectors which are information critical. Uh, I think the need is different, but I think cloud is vast. You just have to tap into the right offering of cloud.
Yep. This is Sirisha. You would like to take the question? How to tackle security issues during cloud implementation?
Yes, I can. I think this has been the most critical part of it because I can talk from the my experience on the healthcare side of it because we are in the business. And on the healthcare side of it, there is a lot of data which the members it's sensitive. We call it as a PHI data, right? It is a personal health information that we are not supposed to expose. We expose, we are non-compliant. Period and point. So, in order to maintain that security, I think first thing, because we had moved the data from on-prem to cloud, we have beamed the data, which means you package the data in such a way that it travels as a packaged manner. The way you receive packages from Amazon, it goes it as a packaged manner when you beam the data, right? You cannot see it. We have not used any tunnels per se because I think it's more costly, but I think you can definitely beam it where we have used technologies like Kafka, the streaming layers of Kafka, where you put Kafka on both sides of it, on your on-prem and on cloud, and then you beam your data, right? And then it goes in a secure manner because it's packaged. And then you apply, and before you beam it, you're required to apply encryption on your data. There are multiple encryption patterns that are available, right? But then I think we have tried to mask it. You mask the data, only that data which is critical, which is the PHI data, right? You mask it and then you package it and you beam that data on top of cloud, and then you unpackage it once you come out of cloud, or don't unpackage it. So we didn't unpackage it, we didn't decrypt it, the data stayed as is. All the calculations, unless and until it is required to be done on any of the sensitive data, keep it as is. You package only the required elements, you don't have to package the entire data. Your address need not be encrypted, right? Your credit card needs to be encrypted. So in my entire data as a package, I would just encrypt that data, I would just mask my credit card, and if I have to run any other computation which does not need my encrypted data, I leave it as is, and then I do my computation, package it again, and then when I put it on a database, right? Now believe me, the databases also on cloud comes with their own encryption model. So it stays encrypted. It still sits there. When does it get decrypted? That's a security pattern we follow, right? And when we want to decrypt it, when actually you're getting a hit from your consumers on the portal who want to see it, it is then when the request comes, and when I'm trying to extract it and show it to them is when I'm decrypting it. So that's the model we have followed on cloud. So in short, data in transit and data in rest is always secured that way, and it's encrypted. Did
Okay.
I did I did I answer it?
Yep, I think so. And I see a couple of questions in a similar way. What approach do you suggest to follow that are required once to get one's cloud computing career started, or what are the prerequisite skills required? Um, See, having a strong um, development skills, right? Having being a good FSC full stack engineer with a strong UI, middle tier, backend, having that is that prerequisite. Being a good developer, I would think, is a prerequisite. Rest of it, you just need to know the know-how of cloud computing. You need to understand the design patterns of cloud, which you can take any course on a Udemy or on a YouTube, right? That's all it is. And many organizations, including our organizations, we are looking for people who are strong developers, and we're willing to pull them up on the cloud technologies. So I think I wouldn't say any specific prerequisite. As long as you're a good developer, you're a good full stack engineer, that's all it takes to build your career in cloud. And of course, the interest in moving to cloud. That's what I would think.
Absolutely. I echo with you, Madhuri. It needs a right analytical skills and a right zeal to learn. You should have an enthusiasm to learn. It's cloud today. Who knows tomorrow what it is? We'll move to AI/ML tomorrow, and we'll be talking the same on the WIT. So it just needs a passion to learn and resources. It's unlimited. And
Yeah,
right,
even the
Madhuri?
organizations, yeah, they're not looking, I mean, we're not looking for any specific skills. Yes, a certification would be here and there, might help you to get in the door, but being a good developer is good enough. You can pick on cloud pretty fast.
So Madhuri and myself have also learned we're not born with cloud skills.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
the need of the time. So it's not very difficult. I think we can always learn. Sources are
Okay.
tremendous.
All right. Looks like that's all the questions we have. So thank you, everyone. I hope this masterclass is useful for all of you. You truly capture the skies with the cloud. Hopefully, it's of help. And again, if you want to reach out to Optum, perhaps I'm thinking the last slide have the web or email address there. And yep, that would be good. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day from me and from Sirisha.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.